state of AI first. You talk about the AI scale versus computer scale, and how today's world, what does that mean, and how it's different from the computer age. Can you elaborate that a little bit?
We're in a new computing paradigm. Artificial intelligence, if you break it down to the basics of computing, the way we used to do computing is essentially retrieval-based computing. We would pre-record information, take a picture, record a video, write a story, do a brief, so on and so forth, and we put it online. That's why we put it in a data center, a center of data. And then based on whatever retrieval method you use, if you're shopping, it's probably a recommender system. If you're doing search, it recommended a list, and you click at something. Or if you use YouTube, it just feeds you whatever it feeds you. And so then once you select, it would go and retrieve that file for you. And if you're a shopper, then it's very likely that based on your previous preferences and whatever context it is, where you are and from what other link did you come from, right? All the cookies you left behind. It might use that information to recommend one of maybe 16 versions of ads that's already created for you. It's all retrieval-based computing. So far, all of the way we largely use computing, we create content and we retrieve content. Well, the way that we do computing now with artificial intelligence is based on your context, based on your request, based on your intentions. It would then generate from some initial seed of information. It could be grounded in some fact, it could be grounded in a piece of report, and it generates information for you for the very first time. And every single time it's, largely different. And so it's generative computing. It used to be retrieval-based, now it's generative. The benefit, of course, is that every time you use computing based on your context, based on the changes of ground truth, based on your intention, intelligence would be applied and provide you the information that best suits you. And so that makes sense? Okay, that's the big breakthrough. And the reason for that, we need so much more computation. Instead of a bunch of storage, we need a lot of computers. That's the fundamental difference. Now, of course, the big breakthrough is because of that, we have to learn how to perceive information of all kinds. It could be text, it could be video, it could be images. We have to reason about what it is that you're asking me, the context and your intent. And then I have to plan to answer your question accordingly. It could be providing you an answer or providing you a summary, or maybe write you a brief based on all the things that I've researched, or even do some shopping for you. And so we went from retrieval-based computing to generative, and on top of that, we've now made it possible for us to do tasks.
Right.
And so artificial intelligence is really about that journey.
Right. I want to ask you a personal question here. When was the first time you saw a chatbot, and how did you react to that?
The first time I saw a chatbot was shortly after NVIDIA built Megatron. Mm-hmm. Before the first large language model was announced, NVIDIA announced with Microsoft the first large language model. It was called Megatron. Mm-hmm. And Megatron was about 400, 500 billion parameters. The technology that we invented to make it possible is pre-training the models. And together between us and Microsoft, we pre-trained a really large model at the time. This is probably mid-91, late 91. Okay, so this was before ChatGPT. And the thing that was great about it, of course, was that it encoded, it was able to memorize a lot of knowledge. But the thing that we didn't invent, that OpenAI invented to make ChatGPT useful, is the concept of alignment, reinforcement learning, human feedback. Mm-hmm. And as a result, you give it a prompt, the Megatron, you give Megatron a prompt, it would generate it would start spewing off all kinds of things that it was encoded in its memory, and it was just nonsense, and it wasn't very useful. And we were waiting for another great invention, was reinforcement learning, human feedback.
We have a segment we do every week here in our office called...
But the first time I saw ChatGPT, I was mind blown. I was so happy to see it.
Yeah. We have a segment called AI in the Office here. We record every week one of our staffers. What did they do with AI last week? What did you do with AI last week that really was interesting?
Yesterday, I was using it to finish my shareholder letter, and so I'll outline something, and then I'll say, go off and read everything that I've already read, I've already said, and all the things I've already written, all the keynotes that I've already done, and based on this outline, just populate it with things that I've already said. Just give me a basic framework, and then from that, I might take it and refine that, or that wasn't very good. I'll rewrite it all together, and then I would give it to the AI again to ask it to make it tone consistent, or highlight some things that it could do a better job on.
Right. Going back to NVIDIA, in this town,
writing is so hard. I hate writing, but with AI it was tolerable.
Yeah. NVIDIA is more than just a chips company. It builds an entire ecosystem, and when you look at what you do, is you not only invest, in building the ecosystem that got you here, but you also build an ecosystem going forward. So how would you describe in Washington, what does NVIDIA do? What is that ecosystem that you have built?
We build the computing infrastructure for modern AI. And so if describing modern AI as the new computing paradigm, then we are the computing infrastructure, the computing fabric that makes that possible. A computer consists of the chips, but the system software, the algorithms, where it's computing. It could be in a data center, it could be on-prem, it could be inside a factory, it could be in a base station, like the work that we do with telecommunications. It could be in a car. And so it doesn't matter really where computing is done, but we create the computing infrastructure necessary to do that. Each one of these different applications also have different algorithms, and our job is to translate the intention of the computer, of the science, to best fit into our architecture. And so NVIDIA is really this collection of software, middleware, essentially the operating systems of these domains that makes it possible for people to do all this computing. And then we then connect all of that to the world's ecosystem of partners, whether it's Lilly for drug discovery, or Caterpillar in energy generation and construction, and heavy equipment, and the number of companies we work with in the United States is basically everybody.
Yeah. You have talked recently about AI being a 5-layered cake. So I want to get into each one of the layers, and I want you to tell us, we're in Washington, where do we stand in each of the layers? What are the things we need to do? What are the things we are ahead?
AI is a new computing paradigm. It is also a new industry altogether. And the reason for that is because the way that AI operates is so fundamentally different than the way computers operate. It no longer stores the information exactly as you described it and retrieve it from storage, from a disk drive or SSD. We now generate it, and the generation output is numbers. And those numbers are essentially tokens. We call them tokens. No different than tokens, just floating point number or some number. And we take those numbers and we reformulate them into the output that you desire. And the output you desire could be text, it could be video, it could be images, it could be sound. Kind of like Tang. It's in powder form, and we add water to it, and it turns into orange juice. And so we reformulate it in such a way that you can use. Well, that token generation process requires really large computers. And so and computers need energy. And so the way that this industry has formulated is, one, energy on the bottom, a whole bunch of chips and systems, computers, and these computers are fairly gigantic. I mean, they're the size of football fields, and there's a lot of them. And so the next layer up from that is we call infrastructure. Infrastructure is land, power, and shell, but also the software for cloud services. And then on top of that is models. And on top of that is really the most important part for the United States and every single country is the adoption of the technology. And this is, in fact, the layer that I'm most concerned about. There's one area that really worthy of us spending time to talk about is making sure that that we are mindful about, on the one hand, making sure we have proper guardrails and keep people safe in the application of the technology, but to ensure that the United States is at the front, at the pioneering front of applying the technology, because it drives so much productivity and prosperity and technology, and as well as economic leadership. We can't afford for another country to leave us behind. We were the front runners of applying technology in the last industrial revolution. We need to be careful not to be the last in this industrial revolution. And so the five-layer cake starts with energy, chips, infrastructure, models, and even models, we of course think about large language models, which is the things that we can engage easiest and most. But remember, AI can represent information of any kind, and some of the most important information we represent isn't language and numbers, but biology, chemicals, physics, articulation, animatronics. All of these types of information is represented by these tokens. And it's really important to recognize that when we think about AI, don't just think about the chatbot and the services we're talking about. There's enormous industries that are adjacent to it that don't get the voice that some of the AI companies get, but they're super important to the future of our nation. And so the AI models and the applications on top.
Can we talk a little bit about the energy? Obviously, all these models require a lot of energy going forward. We have a lot of hurdles in that space, from the grid, where we are, from building the necessary pathways. We work a lot on fusion, but solar. So there's a variety of ways how to get to the energy needed. How would you assess our energy situation right now?
Well, Eli, that's a really important question. I think, first of all, you got to take a step back and ask ourselves, do we want to re-industrialize the United States? Do we want to bring back to the United States this entire sector of the economy, this entire sector of labor that we consider essential to having a properly shaped society and a properly shaped economy? We've become a nation, an economy where unless you get a 4-year degree, unless you get a master or PhD, you're going to get left behind, and that's unfortunate and unnecessary. I think we can all agree that that's unfortunate and unnecessary. We have to reindustrialize this country. For the first time in a generation, we have a market force that's incredibly powerful to drive the reindustrialization of our country. AI will cause us to create several plants. The first plant is chip plants. We're the largest AI company in the world today. We committed $500 billion to consumption so that we can bring the supply chain from the east into the west, back to the west, so that we can build chip plants and packaging plants, computer plants, so that we can build all of the manufacturing necessary for NVIDIA's AI supercomputers to be built here and used here. So the first plants are chips, the second plants are associated with the computers themselves, and the third, putting these computers into AI factories. Altogether, we're talking about trillions of dollars of manufacturing, high-skilled labor jobs. We're going to create enormous amounts of manufacturing opportunity here in the United States. That, I think, is the first thing we have to confront. Do we want to be that country or not? Do we want to be that kind of society or not? Do we want to be that economy or not? Now, if we decide the answer to that is yes, then we obviously need energy, because you need energy to transform atoms in one form to atoms in another form. You guys understand what I'm talking about? You have to break covalent bonds, and you have to make covalent bonds. And in order to do that, enormous amount of energy is necessary to change the phase of matter. And so the whole concept of manufacturing is about energy. And so we need energy in this country in order for us to reindustrialize.
But as you build these manufacturing capabilities,
you asked me a question.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No.
And what is the state of our capabilities?
Right.
Clearly, we are behind because of all of the policies we've had in the past. All the concerns about climate change caused us to, of course, underinvest in energy. Now we want to be conscious about the environment. Everything has to be balanced. And so now the question is, what do we do going forward? The first thing that we can do is we can modernize the grid. We can make the grid more efficient. We over-provision in the grid, as you know. We have to make sure that our grid can take care of our society and all of our infrastructure on 12 of the worst days of the year. The rest of the time is over-provisioned by enormous amounts. And so the question is, what kind of service level agreements can we come up with so that the power utilities can provide excess energy when they can, and during the times when they can't, now we have to provide for subsequent backup energy. The backup energy can come from solar, it can come from nuclear, all kinds of sustainable energy in the future. But we have an opportunity right now with this incredible market-driven force to take advantage of this opportunity to make sure that the United States become a manufacturing nation again, create enormous amounts of manufacturing labors and jobs, and high-skilled and high-paying jobs. And then the second is to use this opportunity to enhance the energy system of our country.
In July, when we last spoke, you talked about the next wave of AI being agentic AI. It's May now, and
My goodness.
We're living it.
My goodness.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit about how do you assess the state of agentic AI right now? There's a lot of conversation yesterday we've had here and in town about the state of agentic AI, the successes, the failures, and what's happening right now.
The big breakthrough from large language models to chatbots was reinforcement learning human feedback. The large breakthrough from large language models to agentic systems is a system called harnesses. The model itself advanced, no doubt. The pre-training is improved, the reinforcement learning is improved, teaching it how to use reason better and tool use, all of that is improved. However, the big breakthrough is the concept of harnessing these large language models so that they have connection to ground truth, so that they could do research, so that they could use the web browser, so that they could reason and have memory and improve itself and communicate with others. And so these agents in the last 6 months made enormous breakthroughs. Almost all of them perform incredibly well. We're big fans of Codex and Cloud Code. Both are incredibly good. Codex 5.5 just came out, huge breakthrough, big leap, and Cloud Code obviously incredibly good. The thing that we can now do, almost most of the vast majority of software tasks are now completely automated, and meaning that we don't have to do the programming ourselves. The one interesting observation, which was the prediction was because of agents coming out, all software engineering jobs will be gone. That the first thing you should do is whatever you do, plan on being a lot of things in the future, but don't be a software engineer. Well, it turns out the number of software engineers we're hiring is increasing. Every company is increasing. The number of software engineering jobs is increasing. And the reason for that is this. It's a very big idea. This also happened in radiology. 10 years ago, somebody predicted that the first job that's going to go, the first industry that's going to radiologists, that job is gone forever. And the reason for that is computer vision was going to completely transform studying these images. The prediction was 100% right. AI has now permeated every aspect of radiology. The only thing that was wrong was the prediction. Radiologists are in short supply. And so the same thing is happening in software engineering. The reason for that is this. In our jobs, the task that we do, in the case of software engineering, the task is programming. You could argue it's kind of a fancy version of typing. And so the task is programming, coding. However, the skill, the purpose of the job is not programming. The purpose of the job is not coding. The purpose of the job is innovate, solve problems, connecting with collaborators, find problems that exist and solve it, find problems that nobody's even expressed. That's called innovation, connecting unrelated things, creating something new. That's the purpose of software engineering. And so our engineers their purpose in life is to innovate, solve problems, move the company forward. It includes coding, but coding is not their job. Coding is their task that some of them do in their jobs.
The next wave you've said is going to be
AI is creating jobs. Anybody who is saying that AI is wiping out jobs is scaring people, and is scaring people out of precisely the jobs that I need. The one thing that I hate for us to do is to tell all of the young people, don't be software engineers, because it turns out I need them. And hospitals don't tell people, AI researchers should not tell people to stop being radiologists, because humanity needs radiologists. The radiologist's purpose in life is to diagnose disease. Reading scans is a task that they do in service of diagnosing disease. So if you separate the purpose from the task in a job, it'll help you think through it better.
As I was saying, the next wave you predicted was the physical AI. 10 months later, from where we last spoke about this topic, where do you think we are right now in physical AI space?
One of the best breakthroughs in physical AI, the easiest one, is self-driving cars. Robotaxis are here. That problem, the science is now completely solved. Now it's a lot of engineering, and even the engineering is just around the corner. So we're going to have robotaxis.
Have you ever used one of them, by the way?
Oh yeah. Sure.
Yeah. How was your experience using?
Excellent. NVIDIA makes robotaxis. We created this software called Alpamayo. It's the world's first thinking robotaxis, the thinking car, meaning it can come up to a circumstance that it has never seen before, and it would reason about it. The way it reasons about it decomposes it into more mundane things. Oh, I've seen this, I've seen that, I've seen that. In composition, I understand what's going on, and so I know exactly what to do. And so the reasoning system has really expanded the capabilities of these cars.
So the robotaxis are here. What about humanoid robots?
Right around the corner. And the reason for that is if you could imagine this, you guys know this, if you could prompt a video generator, and so ChatGPT has a new excellent video generator, and you say, I want to generate somebody picking up a coffee cup and taking a sip. And it would generate my hand picking up the coffee cup, knows exactly where the coffee cup is, and picks it up. And if I can generate a video doing that, why can't I generate the robot to do it?
Right.
And so I think you could imagine, based on this, the other capability must be around the corner.
And so, do you think this is like 3 to 5 years? This is 1 to 3 years? What's the time frame you envision? These robots really becoming more mainstream than we're seeing right now in like.
The big challenge right now is partly the AI model, but a lot is associated with the mechatronics, the motors, the hands, the structure. You want to be on the one hand light, on the other hand it has to be strong. And so you want it to be light because if something were to happen, it tips over. Having something that weighs 80 pounds tipping on you is probably okay. Having something that weighs 300 pounds tipping on you probably isn't. And so there's a very big difference between, the current state of the art versus where we need to be, and we're going to get there.
Yeah.
And so material science matters, motors matters, battery technology matters, sensors, and so all of these things matter. And then of course there's the AI itself.
Yeah. And when do you think Olaf will become available at Target?
I'm not hoping for Olaf, but the other robots that I have on stage usually with me from Disney, they're incredibly cute.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want their own R2-D2 growing up with them?